Guys, welcome back to the Matt Chat Podcast with myself, Paul Ciatto, and Christopher Shay.
How's it going?
Welcome back, guys. So today we wanted to breach a subject that is like almost taboo to a degree, right?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. It's taboo to certain individuals who I'm afraid to insult now.
You know what? But it's the subject of ego, okay? And you hear this, you know, the ego's this, the ego's that, the ego's bad. You rarely hear about what the good of the ego is. And I want to talk about that today because, to your point, there's a fine line. You know,
Absolutely.
there's a fine line. But I think once you understand the ego and the benefits of the ego, that you can walk that line.
Yeah. If you're a peacock and you're trying to flaunt your ego, that's one thing. But if you need your ego to take care of business, it's a whole nother ballgame. And that's that fine line that we talk about.
Correct.
Your ego needs to be there so that way you can do the heavy lifting that sometimes, unfortunately, has to get done in an uncomfortable situation.
You know, it's like it's for, you know, you hear it all along. I've been accused of it myself. You're an egomaniac. I am.
Take it as a compliment. Watch this. If you're
know.
an egomaniac, let's just take a look at your successes. Obviously, your ego is doing something right.
I appreciate that as a compliment, and I have to say that to your point, if it wasn't for ego, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah, you're ego-driven in a positive way, though, not in a negative way.
Not in a negative way at all. I'm always looking, at least for me, it's always been about it's not enough. I can be better. I can improve. I can do this. I can do that. And like you just alluded to a moment ago, the most important part of that is when, you know, when the tough gets going, you know, I've got to become even tougher.
Absolutely.
You know?
Or everybody else starts catching up.
You know, and more or less like, you know, what are you going to do when, you know, you're put in that corner? What is it that's going to separate you from the masses to do that? You know, it's ego. It's
intestinal fortitude.
Intestinal fortitude. It's that ego. And I got to be honest with you, it's taught. I think some people are born more with it than others.
Sure.
I'm the first one. I'm a big proponent of that, and I believe that, you know, as it is, all men aren't created equal, and some have more of it than others. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, I love these people that go out there. Oh, you know, the ego's no good. No, let me tell you something. Anybody or anything in life that's been successful has had ego. Period. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree 100%. Here's the thing. That fine line we talk about is drawn more for the weaker people who just need an excuse for why they have failures and why they don't have successes. So they're going to say, oh, well, he's just an egomaniac. That's why he's doing X, Y, and Z. Well, guess what? Maybe you should be a little bit more of an egomaniac because here you are, you know, not being successful and not trying to fulfill everything that you want to be in life. Maybe if you were a little more ego-driven,
correct,
you might be more successful, or you might be able to accomplish certain goals that you set out that you just said, forget it, I'm just going to give up and I'm done. Hell no. Set those goals, do what it takes to accomplish them, and then drive forward and set new goals. Otherwise, you remain stagnant.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Absolutely.
Right? So you have to set the bar, each increment that you move and you go. But each time you move that increment, that bar forward, is a new challenge.
Yeah. And more ego needs to come into the picture.
Listen,
it's very hard to start moving a rock. But once you get it going, the rock starts moving more and more and more. If you all of a sudden give up what it took to move that rock, guess what's going to happen? It's going to stop moving.
Or roll back on you.
I can tell you, I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah. You know, or you roll back on you. Well, I think, you know, J.J. Watt, you know, defensive end for the Houston Texans, put it very, very bluntly. He said, success is rented. You know, and you got to pay every day. And I probably messed it up a little bit, but it's something I'm paraphrasing to a degree. But that is it. That's the point. Once you reach a particular situation or a pinnacle, the work actually begins all over again. You know, and how do you sustain that and continue to make it better? Yes, Peter.
I think you got to clarify ego a little bit, meaning someone can have a big ego but no work ethic.
Correct.
And then that's ego.
Well, that's a negative.
That's a negative thing.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think. I think your ego is more your identity of who you are or who you want to become. Right.
Right.
Kind of saying.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're better than someone necessarily.
Absolutely not.
It's just your vision of what you are, and then you put the work behind it to back it up, or you figure out how to do that.
Exactly. It's problem solving, and haters are going to hate because people who don't have the capacity to do that, to be successful, can't process it. So do I. You're an egomaniac, you're arrogant, you're this, you're that. And that goes across the board for anybody. I mean, you look at Conor McGregor, he's the Irish Muhammad Ali. Guess what? His ego put him to the top. I mean, I don't particularly care for some of his behavior of late, but guess what?
Had it not been for his
ego.
ways,
Yeah.
exactly, he wouldn't be where he
Had
is.
it not been for his ego and his belief in himself, he's not where he is today.
And let's be honest, ego and belief in oneself is kind of similar.
It's synonymous.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's the problem. But like, listen, you need to be.
You got to feel like you are the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
In order to accomplish something that's really, really hard.
They always say,
if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you?
You got to fake it till you make it, baby. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. So as long as you believe it, even though it may not be the case at that point, it will manifest itself.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly how it works.
You'll learn as you're going through too.
Right.
So where you're not 100% sure how to do certain things, you just fake it till you make it, and then eventually, oh wait, now I know how to do this.
I'm making it.
That's what I'm saying. As long as you have that in the back of your head that I'm not going to quit and I'm going to make it, you have the potential for success.
But you know what? I think it's a life process, meaning if you never had goals or things you had overcome as a younger person, you wouldn't have the tools as an older person and get to overcome bigger obstacles, right?
Right.
If you just sat on a couch or you're in the basement online, if you're in your underwear till you're like 32,
Oh, forget it.
you would not be the same person.
Well, it has to do with the fact of how you're raised. I mean, there's a lot of factors. I mean, like, I was raised by a Sicilian warlord who didn't, and that's, but
He's not kidding.
I'm not kidding. And my father made me who I am today, right, wrong, and different. And he's my idol. You know what I mean? And he's not a perfect man, and neither am I. But I can tell you, man, I wouldn't trade what he put in my brain and my brother's brain for anything in life.
Right.
Period.
He taught you work ethic at a very young age. I can remember you guys working at Power Test.
Yeah, man.
When you were this
pumping
big.
gas, and
Exactly.
working in the deli in the summers,
mowing lawns.
everything.
Yeah.
We had to do it. You know what I mean? And it's like,
And you weren't poor. You didn't as a child. You didn't have to do those things. What your father was doing is he was trying to develop your ego and your work ethic. Because the more you saw how good stuff was, based upon what you did, the more you said, "I want this more and more and more and more."
I mean, it becomes ingrained and embedded in you. You're damn right, it's an ego.
Yeah.
It's like my brother says it all the time. In our family, mediocrity is not okay.
Breeds contempt.
Exactly, it's not okay. We don't abide by that. So, are we egomaniacs? All right, I guess
Fine.
we are.
Absolutely.
Get me a
You know what? Then
T-shirt.
fine.
I'll wear it. I mean,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you got people. Oh, you've got to be humble. You got to have humility. I agree 1,000%. I'm going to be humble, but if you challenge me, and you challenge who I am as a person and how I got here, and you call it, being an egomaniac or being arrogant, you are so misinformed and you are so out there in left field because you yourself don't process what it takes.
And just because you carry yourself confident,
Right.
doesn't mean that your ego is bad.
No.
Confidence is a positive thing. Belief
right.
in oneself is a positive thing.
That's right.
We keep confusing this with these egomaniacs who are doing bad stuff, who are walking around bullying people. Listen, that's not what the ego is about. The ego is about a belief in oneself. And if you have that and you're confident enough in the way you feel, people are going to see that. And the weaker people are going to be afraid of it because they don't want any part of it. But the other strong people are going to say, you know something? Like wolves. They come together in a pack. So if that's the case, then there's a bunch of ego people around you, and guess what? That's what you want, because everyone's striving to succeed.
That's right. Listen, being a compassionate person is also part of the ego.
Absolutely.
Okay? There's another positive part of ego. It's not just about the stuff we're talking about here today, but be having compassion, having humility, wanting to help others. That's all part of the positive ego, And most people I know who are let's say type A or whatnot, or alphas, however you want to define them, they're some of the most compassionate and giving people
Absolutely.
you're going to find on the planet. Okay, because they've developed themselves into a point where they want to give back. They want to do for others.
Of course
they want to do things. But like when you sit back and you watch these people, like listen, life's going to teach you all sorts of lessons, right? You're going to get a curveball.
Teaching me a lot of lessons, and
Well,
it's
there you
giving me
go.
some curveballs. That's
There you
for darn
go.
sure.
So guess what? It happens to everybody. It happens to our kids. It
And
happens.
guess what? If I didn't have some ego, I could easily crumble what's going on right now.
That's right.
Instead, I got to say, you know something? Forget this. That's not how it's going to happen.
Making lemonade, taking lemons and making lemonade, and that's part of the ego. It's like,
I don't let a situation define me. We define the
that's
situation.
right. Remember, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get up and keep moving forward. You know, that's how it works. I mean, I was chatting with my brother this morning earlier, we were talking about, you know, our son's experiences in high school athletics and how their exposure to really shitty coaches and people, the only gift that gave to them was showing basically, hey, you got to work hard and overcome people like that. That despite
Don't give them a chance to put you down.
Exactly. As much as those people may try to hold you down, and they may, you know, hard work and results cannot be overlooked.
Correct.
Okay, those type of people can only control, let's say, accolades that they have control of, but they don't have the control of accolades in life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's like, we've said it 1,000 times before on previous podcasts, man. You know, I got a black belt in life too, not just in jiu-jitsu. So, and that black belt's more important to me than anything else. End of story.
That's what's gonna make you who you are.
And that's what it comes down to. But you have, you know, it's always this, like you said, it breeds contempt, and people are so contemptuous when it comes to success. It's like, man, God bless you. If you want to be mediocre, then by God, that's your choice.
But don't look down upon anybody who's successful.
Don't look down on people or look at people in a crass way because they're pushing the envelope.
Right.
Okay, and they didn't say, okay, I'm going to give up at 30. You know, that every year of their life, I like to say it all the time. You know, everyone's like, when's your prime years? I go, my prime year is now.
Right.
I never had prime years. This is my
It's
47th
continuous.
year. It's my prime.
It's my 47th prime year.
I'm in my prime now.
Yeah.
And every year that prime is redefined
Right.
as to what I need to do
To get to where you
to
want
get
to
to
be.
where I want to be for my own selfish reasons and for the people that want and depend
And let's be
on
honest,
me.
and the people that depend on you.
More
Thank God
important.
for your ego, because you have a business that's how many people do you have employed on you? Without that ego, they're not getting paid.
No.
Their family's not eating. Their
Exactly.
mortgage is not getting. Their rent's not getting paid.
Exactly.
So without your ego, a lot of other people start suffering.
Yeah, man.
So thank God for your ego.
Yeah,
Let's
it's-
be honest.
It's ego and vision, you know, and at the end of the day, it's like if you don't have that vision, man, I feel for you. I feel for you. I really do. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I feel for you. If you've decided that you're going to be a 9-to-5er in life, okay, and that you live for
You check out at 5 o'clock.
At 5 o'clock, and you live for the weekends, and on Sunday night you're the most depressed creature on the planet because you got to start the whole vicious cycle over again. That's not my fucking problem.
Right.
To be perfectly honest with you. And I bless you. By all means, go do that. Go be you.
Watch this. We need more people like that so we can continue to be more successful.
Listen.
Because without those people, if everyone's pushing at 100 miles an hour just like us, it's going to be a rat race. It's going to be a claw. So hey, listen.
It's a rat race regardless,
Yeah.
and listen, you got even the 1% of people that want to push forward and continue to progress. Listen, each and every time it gets more difficult because the rules change. There's no set rule. There's no rule set. There's no, okay, well, here's the template.
Here's a recipe.
The template recipe worked the year before. It's not going to work now.
And if you don't adapt to it, and if you don't keep your ego where it needs to be, you lose sight of that.
At the end of the day, if you cannot learn to live in shark-infested waters, you will not survive. Okay? You have to take every day as if you're jumping into a pool or an ocean that's shark-infested, and their target is you. That's where ego is developed in the most positive
But you
and
also have to
powerful
remember,
way.
you're more of an entrepreneur. You're not, like I said, you're not working in the corporate world where they don't need to work. For you, in order to keep doing what you need to do,
Right.
because you are buying businesses, you're building businesses, you're doing, a lot of people aren't doing that. A lot of people are a small little microcosm in a big business.
Sure.
You are the big business. Does that make sense?
No, I
so
get it.
you need to be, your game needs to be like that.
No,
That's why these other people, they have no idea where you're coming from.
No.
Because for them, it's, all right, I'm going to work, doing my small part in this big puzzle.
They have no
Well, guess what? You're the one going like this. All right, here's the corners of the puzzle. Here's the border of the puzzle. And now all these guys are filling in the small sections. But without this,
Nothing happens.
there is no smaller sections.
I sat here 3 weeks. I sat 3 weeks ago and came in because I work every day, and I came in on a Sunday to do paperwork, and I had to make some phone calls. And my daughter came in, and she saw me in a moment.
Working at Sunday at 4 o'clock or
Yeah,
whatever
I
it
was Sunday about 11 o'clock,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and she saw me in a moment, and I was on fire. I was on the phone with somebody, and I was me being me, and I turned to her and I said, This is why daddy's on edge all the time. Because if I'm not on edge, I can't catch the mistakes. Right. If I'm not on edge and I'm not sharp, I can't do my job. I've got people that depend on me, and I got all this stuff. I hope you understand that. And my daughter says, Daddy, I see it. I've seen it for a long time. I get it. You know, so that's you know, my 15-year-old daughter saying.
And those are the best life lessons when they just walk in on you
and that's
being
exactly,
you.
And that's exactly what it is. And it's a scenario where
they see what it takes to be successful.
And
you don't have to even say it.
No.
That's what makes it so good.
Yeah, I mean
those are the best lessons learned.
When it comes to your children and the ego, and it goes good and bad, they become what they see.
Sure.
Make no bones about it. They become what they see. Okay?
The apple doesn't fall
far from the tree. Okay? You're overweight and out of shape, they're going to be overweight and out of shape. You're lazy, they're going to be lazy. Okay? If you're in shape, most likely they're going to be in shape. If you work hard and you like success and you're pushing the envelope, most likely they're going to be the same way.
If that's all they see and that's all they know, how can they do anything but that?
That's right.
It's why typically every generation hopefully goes ahead.
It's supposed to get better than the next. I agree 1,000%. And because if you're not pushing them to get better, okay,
or they're not seeing what it takes to get better, they're not going to know what they have to do.
You take these kids from inner cities, okay, who have nothing. Yeah. It's ego that got them out of there.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
If it wasn't for a belief in themselves and a desire to be better than what they are now, it wouldn't happen.
It's very easy to stay right in that little
Those
pocket.
kids are hungry. Yeah. Those kids are hungry. They're used to not having food on the table or the heat on in the winter. That, man, you talk about a trial by fire. Of course, you're in survival mode. Your ego's like, you know what, I'm never going back to that.
Right.
So now you get a person whose confidence exudes themselves. Listen, you can have silent confidence too. It depends on the person. But the ego's the ego.
Right.
Okay? Listen, we like to talk shit. It's part of who we are. We like to entertain with that shit. But guess what? At the end of the day, it doesn't make us negative or bad guys. Okay? Then you have other guys, listen, that their presence exudes that. All right? And they're no different.
And that's okay.
They're no different than you and me.
Correct.
It's just the way they're expressing the presentation of it. You know, but one should not be defined by the other.
No.
Absolutely not.
You can't, because they're two separate things.
You can't do it. You know, it's a scenario. Listen, 5 minutes ago before we started this episode, you're telling your son, listen, I got this workout for you. I got this training regimen for you that Kyle Dake does.
Right.
Okay? Right? My son is at the football field doing prives at 7:30 in the morning and then coming back here 2 hours later to weight train and speed and agility train and then probably come back and train martial arts later on today. Guess what? Do we have to push them to do it? No. Do we have to guide them?
Of course.
At the same time, though, before I'm going to bed last night, what did I just tell you? I told your son today.
Yeah.
I told my both and my boy, this is your conscience calling. You better have a protein shake before you go to sleep. And they get pissed off because I'm annoying now. But by habit, I have to make them so they hear that voice all the time.
You're also, remember one thing,
Yeah.
they're also infants in this journey.
Correct.
You have been through it, you've done it, you've seen it as an athlete, you've seen it as a bodybuilder, you've seen it as a doctor,
Yep.
you've seen it as just a human being who's been on the
Everything,
planet
man.
for 47
Businessman,
years.
everything.
So now you got to start saying, hey, look, this is what it takes. And they're like, oh, shoot. So if you get them indoctrinated in that regimen, they're going to know in another 2 weeks you won't have to say a single word. Right before they go to bed, boom, they're both down in a protein shake and they're going to bed. But if they don't know what to do,
Listen,
that's why the example's there for you.
why is it that my daughter has me grilling her chicken for the week on Sundays? Meal prepping for the week.
That's, I mean,
And
at 15,
and it's basically what she saw. I didn't say you needed this, you needed that. It's what she does.
She has an objective that she's trying to accomplish. Right. She knows what it takes because she has good role models that have shown her, and now she said to me one time, she goes, I have goals and people don't get that. So I'm like, we're doing something right. Sounds familiar.
You know, we're doing something right. I mean, that's what it comes down to, and what is it all about in the
I have goals. Now, if that is not an ego statement from a 15-year-old girl,
right?
And guess what? Who can say that's negative?
Negative.
And how could you even think that's negative? It doesn't even make any sense.
No.
But that's as ego-driven as it gets.
That's right.
God bless her.
Yeah.
I just don't know if ego is the right word, because ego could be totally shitty. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah, we're giving the positive.
That's more.
No,
of a
but watch this.
No,
That's
that's
another
more of a
whole
character.
podcast. We're trying to say the ego isn't a dirty word.
No, it's not.
When applied properly.
Basically, it's like a servant. If you keep an eye on it and control it, it will serve you wonderfully.
Right.
If you let it go astray and control you,
then
it'll
negative.
fire you up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the thing is, you're really in charge, and you're using your ego to help you
Correct.
get your goals. But I just think it's a matter of character that
I agree.
you taught her. Some stuff's innate, but kids see stuff.
Right.
It's not because she wants to be better than someone or that. It's just how she
And watch
sees
that.
herself.
And there's nothing
and she
wrong.
knows who she is. There's
There's
wrong
nothing
with it.
wrong with wanting to be better than somebody else either.
Right.
I mean, that's not a dirty word either. Guess what? I want to be better than you. Sorry. If I'm not going to try and put you down. I'm not going to kick your legs out. But guess what? I want to be better than you. Sorry. Because I want things for me, and I want things for my family.
Period.
And plus, let me tell you something. I can remember in second grade walking to the freaking the pencil sharpener. If I saw somebody walking a little quicker than me, I picked up my pace. I wanted to beat him. I want to be better than you,
right.
and I don't see that as a bad thing. But I'm not going to put you down in the process, and I'm not going to impede your own progression.
Your own journey.
That's it. But guess what? I'm going to try and beat you, and I'm going to train to beat you.
But you're also doing stuff because you want to do it.
I just like beating people. No, I'm just kidding.
Not everything is. I mean,
not everything is to
we're,
beat people.
we're
100%.
competitive people. Yeah,
Yes.
you want to be, number one and succeed. Yeah,
Yeah.
but also you're doing stuff because you like doing it.
Listen,
Of course.
everything is passion driven if you
Yeah.
want success. I'm the first. Listen, I'm the first thing. If I didn't enjoy every day of what I was doing, I wouldn't be near.
I'd do something else.
Something else. I wouldn't even be near at the level or the place in my life that I am now. So Peter, thank you for bringing that out because you're 100% right. But once a person harnesses those passions, and the biggest thing is that people understand that ego's part of that.
It has
Ego's
to be.
part of that
It
passion.
has, in a positive way.
Positive
but it has
way.
to be.
It has to be. Like, you know what? You get these, like, we spoke about it before, like, we talk about jiu-jitsu, no ego. It's the biggest crock of shit I've heard in my life. You have to have 100% ego to step on a jiu-jitsu mat. Period. End of story. If you don't, you don't belong there. Now that's why
If you're
You're
not trying.
going into dangerous territory
I
now,
know,
Paul
but
Ciatto.
guess what?
Say that again for the camera.
Yeah,
That's
listen,
a highlight.
if you don't have ego, then you shouldn't step on a jiu-jitsu mat. Why? That's why most people don't get past blue belt. 88% quit after blue belt. Because the journey just gets that much harder. You know what? And again, I want to preface this. Ego doesn't mean go on the mat and be an asshole. No.
And fight somebody.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. It's about the journey. You know, Matt Bissett was on one of our podcasts. He said you get submitted 10,000 times before you reach black belt. That's what it's about. You didn't quit after getting submitted 10,000 times.
If you've got an
You
ego,
moved it forward.
you quit way earlier.
Yeah, man.
Let's be honest.
If you got a fragile ego,
fragile ego,
that's more,
exactly.
it's more important. But if your ego's one, hey man, you know what? I'm gonna come back and you say I'm gonna race you to the pencil sharpener. You're damn right.
That's right.
Tap me 1,000 times. I'll be here tomorrow, son. I mean, that's what it's about. But that's my point.
It's
You know what I
the
mean?
positive ego.
It's the positive
Yeah,
ego.
yeah.
It's like a guy. Listen, if you
And that's what this whole thing is about. Just so you know,
Yeah.
ego is not a dirty
Yeah,
word if you use it correctly.
It's like this. If you want to, like, I don't play chess, okay? I know how to play it. I play it. We play it in my house. I think I told you the story. My son and I would play chess. Chess became full contact chess because the competition became so brutal that chess got physical, okay? And we laugh about it, but legitimately, trash talking started.
Oh, yeah.
Physicality started over chess, okay? Chess, a very cerebral game, all right? Guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But guess what? If I really took chess,
Just hide the guns and the knives.
yeah, if I really took chess seriously though, and I'm like, you know what? I'll go find the chess coach,
The chess coach.
whoever that is,
Yeah.
okay? And I will learn how to play chess for 6 months. And
And
then
then
I'm
we'll
going to
play-
come
yeah.
back, and we're going to play chess, and I'm going to whoop your ass, okay?
Absolutely.
Simply because you beat me in chess 1,000 times.
Right.
Okay? And that's the point. So what is that? That makes me a bad guy because I went to Captain Chess to learn how to play the game? And he taught me for 6 months?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he didn't like losing. No, I didn't.
Yeah. And if
I
you-
didn't
and-
like
and-
losing.
and watch this. If you like losing, it's kind of weird. I'm not saying it's not a bad thing, but if you who really likes to lose? I don't.
crazy.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. I like to win at everything.
Yeah, well, what's wrong with that?
The phones are gonna start ringing. The phones are gonna
Watch
start
this.
ringing.
You know what then? Let them to bring. I don't need you as my friend.
Period.
I like to win, and I see that as a positive. I'm not a sore loser, but I like to win.
You're not going to win every time, but I'm sure as heck going to try my
here's
hardest
the
to
other
win.
thing. And if I don't win, and I really like what I'm doing, I'm going to do what it takes to figure out how to win the next time. And that's how you're successful, and that's ego-based, ego-driven from a positive aspect.
At the end of the day, if you don't have the answers to the test, you're going to go find the answers.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it comes down
makes
to.
sense.
I mean, that's how winning is done.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to...
You study harder.
Well, I think you brought up a really great point about being an entrepreneur, meaning passion-driven. It's a very important thing. A certain type of person does that. A certain type of person can't do that.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's nothing wrong with that. They can't
They're
do
the
the
same
roller
people who
coaster
like
ride.
to lose.
Right.
They don't care about winning.
Some people are more gamblers. Some people are more risk takers. Some people are confident in their risk taking if they're intelligent about it.
Everybody that's been successful has failed a million times before that success has happened.
Absolutely.
Okay? It becomes easier, success, once you've learned the process. Even though that process changes every time.
For different things.
For different things, it changes.
But it's still the same. It's still the same overall general recipe, and that is you're going to get submitted 10,000 times before you become a black belt. You just got to keep showing up.
You got to keep showing up.
You just got to keep showing up.
You got to learn different things.
It's how you control your ego, like you said, because if you're a weak ego and it bothers you and you don't show up again, well, that's not the ego's out of control.
Yeah, that's a really bad
That's a bad ego.
Really
But
bad.
another person, a different personality type, will do exactly what you said. They'll keep showing up and figure it out.
And it's that ego that's bringing them there the next day to get tapped out again to learn till eventually, guess what happens? They get tapped out less and less and less.
That's right. And listen, I watched it with my son where he had told one of his coaches a year ago, based on his own experiences, and said, it's about me. It's about Team Cristiano. Because I've got to worry about me, and
especially if nobody else is worried about it.
And it was, I don't trust any of you. I'm the best I can be for me. What I've always done works. And I sat there and listened to him say this.
And guess what happened?
Yeah.
Look where he is now.
Exactly.
So being on Team Cristiano wasn't that bad.
Right. And he's one of the most compassionate kids you'll ever want to meet, and I never hear a negative thing about him. But in his brain,
He's a good kid.
He'll turn that switch on. I raised him that way. You know, oh yeah? You're going to make it difficult for me? Well, guess what? I'm going to rise above it.
We're going to circle the wagons and watch what happens.
I'm going to outwork you in every little aspect that you think you can outwork me in, and I'm going to rise above the occasion. And guess what? That's his ego.
Yeah.
That's an ego right there.
Don Ciatto, you've done well.
Well, you know, listen, everyone I'm around has done well. You know what I mean? And he said it earlier, you know, the birds of a feather flock together. People congregate. You know, like-minded people with goals, people that have the same aspirations, no matter, it could be on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but the goals are the same, they're going to gravitate to one another. You know what I mean? So
I think we could keep talking more about this subject in another episode because there's just more we could touch on.
Absolutely.
Because don't take any offense to this. I don't think you're necessarily a rocket scientist. I'm not saying you're not intelligent. You're intelligent. But the stuff you do is basic rice and beans stuff.
You're 1,000%.
It's not like you're inventing things that were never invented.
We didn't reinvent the wheel.
There's no reason to do that.
You have discipline and in one step
and
at a time, work ethic and clarity of thought. And you make it happen.
You got to put the blinders on. Discipline, focus, blinders. Nothing else matters. Don't hurt anybody in the process. But sure as hell don't be swayed in the goal. That's what it comes down to. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. The Matt Chat podcast with myself, Paul Ciatto, Christopher Shay.
Thank you, guys.
We will revisit this. See you next time.